Have a little kirtan while you wait.
There's nobody there.
And purify the airways with a kirtan. Don't cling.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vadadanaram Jana Yasodanandana Vadadanaram Jana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Jam Vishnu Bhavanam Prabhu Vidya Siddhartha Satu Shri Shima Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Manjai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi. Welcome for this session here on Nectar of Devotion. Hare Krishna, Bunkin and family. How are you?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm fine.
Good. So others may be joining us here, but I just wanted to stay on the schedule here so we can perhaps get in here and start right away. One thing I wanted to mention to you is that this Nectar of Devotion historically is part of the what's called Bhakti-shastri, or the study of 4 principal books of Śrīla Prabhupada, namely Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, and Sri Ishopanishad. So these 4 books consist of the primary books Prabhupada wanted us to begin by studying, have a foundation knowledge of, so that we can practice Krishna consciousness correctly. Now, Bunkin, I hope you don't mind. I had to mute you because you're coming a little feedback there. I will open it up again as we need to discuss things. So, in particular, we're going to go over what are the aims or the purposes of this kind of study of Nectar of Devotion and other similar books that we just mentioned. What is the purpose? Well, what are we trying to achieve? So, I think on your application on your phone, you may be able to see this nice picture of Śrīla Prabhupada. Bunkin, were you able to see the picture of Śrīla Prabhupada on your phone?
No, Prabhuji.
Are you just dialed in on the phone number?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
Prabhuji.
see. Because there's an application also. But maybe you don't have that loaded for freeconferencecall.com, and then you can see the slides. But it's okay. We'll continue.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So I'm going to mute you again here so that we get started. So this Nectar of Devotion, basically it's a book based on the Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, which was written by Rūpa Gosvāmī, one of the primary disciples of Lord Chaitanya, direct disciples. And as we study this book, which was very, very important, we were looking here to understand a few things. What is our purpose? What do we want to do? How are we approaching our study? And the first thing, number one purpose or aim, is to help students memorize and recall the knowledge that forms the foundation of their progress in Krishna consciousness. So there's knowledge in these books, and either by the content directly, being able to remember it and recall it, or by memorizing specific verses like we do in Bhagavad Gita, that will help us in our practices. As we practice, we know, oh, okay, I'm supposed to do this, or Krishna says this. And so that's very helpful in our progress, to have that connection there with the Shastra, with this knowledge. The second purpose or aim is to deepen the students' understanding of the theology of Krishna consciousness, particularly through studying it from a wide range of perspectives and through developing thoughtfulness and introspection. Now, what does this mean? It means that there is like a philosophy of Bhakti-yoga. And it's more than a theology, it's a theology of how to approach God, a religious context of Bhakti-yoga, that we're worshiping God, Krishna, and understanding it, this worship, Bhakti-yoga, through different angles and perspectives that help us with a deeper understanding, a deeper context of the whole process that we're executing. Number three is to help students apply Krishna consciousness in their external practices and their inner development, and to help them develop Vaishnava behavior. So, what does this mean? It means that we are studying these books because we want to learn how to practice what the teachings are, both externally and internally in our heart and our intelligence and our mind and in our character. And we want to develop what is called Vaishnava qualities, Vaishnava behavior. So it's not just like we're like ordinary people, but we have a specific type of behavior that is very noted as the, the hallmark or the characteristic of a Vaishnava. Sometimes Prabhupada was asked, what does it mean to be a Vaishnava? And he would give different answers, but basically they're all related to our qualities and behavior. That we by our behavior and by the qualities we exhibit in our life, we stand out from the ordinary people, even from other religious people, very often, because we're in a higher exemplary lifestyle. And then number 4 is to enhance the student's desire and ability to preach effectively. So we need to increase our desire to be Krishna conscious, but we also want to present it to others very effectively. It's not like, oh, I have my religion, you have yours, okay, that's all there is to it. But actually, when there's an opportunity to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it, we should have that kind of capability, that ability to present it correctly and accurately in the ways that Prabhupada has given us. Now I will, at the end of these 12 purposes, aims, we'll open it up and we can have a little discussion about it. But we'll just keep going on. So stay with me. Number 5. This one's a little esoteric, little, let's say, beyond maybe what our capacity is to create learned Vaishnava theologians who are expert in assisting the ISKCON society through application of shastric knowledge to a wide range of personal, social, moral, topical, and theological issues. So in every religion, there is usually a group of theologians who have studied the texts of the religion very deeply, and they can explain it based on their shastra and help others to see how to apply it. So those who created this course had that purpose to actually inspire those who are already interested to do that, to have a foundation for that purpose. Now the next one, very helpful. To help build and maintain the student's faith and conviction in the process of Krishna consciousness and in the Shastra as its foundation. So this is at the core of what Krishna consciousness means. Our faith is so important in our being able to go deeper and progress in Krishna consciousness. So this study of these books helps us to develop our faith and conviction that this is how I can become fully Krishna conscious, by practicing these teachings. And that these teachings are coming from the Shastra, from the scriptures. They are not concocted as, some spiritual groups do. They invent some philosophy. But rather it's based on the teachings given by Krishna and his representatives. Another aim, number 7, is to cultivate within devotees a wholehearted acceptance of the spiritual authority of Śrīla Prabhupada and Shastra, and a mood of inquiry and a desire to understand and realize the import of Vedic knowledge. So that means we accept the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and all that is Bhakti-yoga as in the way that Śrīla Prabhupada is giving it to us. We're not going outside to other sources, but we stick with Prabhupada's teachings, and we encourage everyone to inquire, to understand it, to open up if they have doubts, and get those doubts satisfied, and to really understand and go deeply into this philosophy. Number 8 is to help students develop analytical, interpretive, and evaluative skills, particularly in the practical application of Shastric knowledge. So again, this meaning that I have to develop as a devotee the ability to understand, interpret what the instructions of books like Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are giving me and apply it. Apply it in my life. So this is so important as a foundation of Krishna consciousness that we need to be able to understand the application. Because it's not simply a theoretical interpretation that we're understanding, but rather it's meant for our own practices. And this is so important that we want to be able to practice Krishna consciousness by taking what is given to us by the Shastra and using that to change and mold our lives so that we attain spiritual perfection, to be pure devotees of Krishna and become qualified to enter at the end of this life into the spiritual world. So it's very important that we learn how to understand and apply the principles given in the Shastra. The next item, purpose, behind our study is to help the students, those who are trying to study this, understand and appreciate the mood and mission of Śrīla Prabhupada and to perpetuate that understanding within ISKCON. So this is very, very important because many people study Bhagavad Gita, or they have written Bhagavad Gita or some commentaries, and there are other groups of Vaishnavas even that follow these books, these Shastras. But we want to understand exactly in the way that Prabhupada is presenting. What does Prabhupada want us to understand? And what is his mission? You know, his mission. What he's trying to assist Lord Chaitanya and his spiritual master in presenting Krishna consciousness for every person on this planet. So how is he doing that? And how these books help us to follow Prabhupada and assist him. Just like we're very active with book distribution and outreach to meet new people at Rath Yatras and other events and invite them to come and join us. So it's not just like, you know, a Hindu temple, just come and see the deities and listen to some chanting and then go home. No, we want to actually help them change their lives so they become pure devotees of Krishna. That may take some time, but this is part of Prabhupada's mission, and the particular ways and moods under which Prabhupada presented this and asked us to follow are very critical for that purpose. And number 10 is to ensure that students develop moral and academic integrity in the interpretation, evaluation, and application of Shastric knowledge. So integrity, moral and academic, that means the teachings are presented and we stick strictly to the presentation and to the instructions that Prabhupada has given. And we follow a lifestyle that reflects that. And it will assist us, but it also presents to the world that this is who we are. We're not saying one thing and doing something else, or we're not. The scriptures say one thing and we have some twist on it and give a little different idea. No, we're sticking very faithfully to what Prabhupada has given us. Number 11, to encourage students to take responsibility for their learning and develop healthy study habits by enhancing their desire to study Śrīla Prabhupada's books and to equip them with the appropriate learning skills. So this is one that maybe many of our devotees in Tampa are not so familiar with. But, you know, we are actually, as followers of Śrīla Prabhupada, you know, at one time the book distributors came before Śrīla Prabhupada and said, Śrīla Prabhupada, you know, we're distributing your books, you know, please encourage us. He said, these books are not just meant to distribute, they're meant for you to study. I wrote them for you, my followers and disciples, to study and practice. And study is not a superficial understanding. Oh, I heard some shloka, yes, I know what that is. But actually study deeply, go deeper into it. What do these shlokas mean? How is this reflected in other parts of the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, similar knowledge? How do I integrate it into other instructions that are there? So that comes by study. And that is what we're trying to do by having this whole class on Nectar of Devotion. And number 12, to equip students with the ability to see through the eyes of Shastra and with a Krishna-conscious worldview. Ultimately, to help students to realize Scripture and see Krishna at all times and in all places. So this is a very deep statement. But this is the mode or the mood of a devotee. He sees the world with a different view, with the glasses that are put on him by the Shastra. He no longer sees different bodies, but he sees people as spirit souls. He sees them conducting their activities under different modes of nature. He sees them experiencing karmic reactions because of their desires and activities. And he sees Krishna as the supreme person who is arranging and guiding and facilitating every person in the world, their lives, but specifically bringing his devotees very close to him and guiding them. So, to see Krishna everywhere, that is one of our purposes in being a devotee. To see everything is connected with Krishna. Not that there's some things I do that are connected and some things have nothing to do with Krishna. That is not a correct understanding. But everything I do, we have to understand how to connect it to Krishna. Every thought, every action, every word, to connect it with Krishna. This is what it means to be completely surrendered to Krishna. So, I've listed here on the next slide the 12 aims in a little nutshell form. The first aim was focused on knowledge, memory, and recall of what the Shastra has said in the verses as well. Second, to get a deeper understanding of the principles and messages of the Shastra. Then the next group, a different group of personal application, how to apply these principles. Number 4, how to present them to others so that they can understand and they will be interested in following. Then number 5, a theological application, how to show that this is a bona fide religious process we're following. And it leads us to Krishna, to worship God, true religion. Next group is talking about our personal applications, and that is faith and conviction. We need to develop our faith and conviction in Shastra and Guru. Otherwise, we remain outside this wonderful nectarian treasure of Krishna consciousness. We can't open it up and really take advantage of what it is without developing deeper faith and conviction. Conviction that Krishna consciousness is the only process that is worth my efforts to follow, and faith that by following the Scripture, following Guru, my life will be perfect. 7 was Shastric authority, that Shastra is really our authority. It tells us how to live life, how to see the world, how to apply everything. 8 is to evaluate our own activities and evaluate the world in terms of the Scriptures. 9 is to understand and follow the mood and mission of Śrīla Prabhupada as given within ISKCON. 10 is to maintain in our lives an academic and moral integrity. That means we are strictly sticking to our understandings according to Prabhupada's presentation. We're not taking other books from other lines of spirituality. We're not, our practices fall in line directly with what's given. in what Prabhupada has asked us to. And then we take a responsibility in number 11 for our own personal learning and advancement in Krishna consciousness. And finally, 12, çästra chakshus, learning how to see the world and see everything that happened to us in terms of Shastra. Very, very important. So again, these 12, they're grouped in 3 categories. The first 2 show us how to take the theoretical knowledge from Shastra, develop a personal understanding, and that matures into a realization that this is the truth. I have practiced it and I realize this is the truth. The next 3 items, aims with 3, 4, and 5, help us take our latent abilities we have on spiritual level, and develop skills how to practice Krishna consciousness and apply these principles in our life so that we actually get full advantage of the Shastra and we get to develop a true Krishna conscious understanding and practices. And the last group, the last 7, are related to our values. The innate values that we're getting from the Shastra, from Guru. What are the values? What are the important qualities that we're told a devotee has? What are his values? What is his practice? And we remove those things that don't get any support in Shastra. For example, the Shastra says, don't eat meat. So then we don't eat meat, fish, or eggs. We remove all those activities that don't fit within the presentation of Krishna consciousness. We then gradually will find that we manifest all the good qualities of the great saints listed in the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. So these are our purposes and what we are trying to accomplish by our study. And I will now open it up for a minute. Okay, ask if there's any questions or comments or want more clarification on anything. Why we're studying like this. Go ahead. Bunkin, did you have something?
Prabhupada, how we can be more delegated and more Krishna consciousness? So we follow this the rules and regulations for Prabhupada to give us.
Well, basically, what we're saying is by studying this book, Nectar of Devotion, we'll understand how Krishna consciousness is practiced to get the result. So we want to become more dedicated, but what are the practices we have to do and why? And what will be the result if we follow them? Not that we'll just be good people, but there's something much, much deeper than just being good people. It is a development of our personal relationship with Krishna. And this is an eternal relationship in 5 principal categories. Neutrality, a servant, a friend, a parent of Krishna, or a conjugal lover of Krishna. So each one of us has inherently a relationship with Krishna in one of those 5 categories. But how will we experience it? How will we develop it and manifest it? What are we supposed to do? This is what we're going to study. And this develops our faith, because as we hear these instructions and then we practice them after a deep understanding, then the changes will happen. The faith will develop. Does that satisfy your...
Yes, that's probably.
Ashish, you are there? I don't know if your wife is there. Anything you would like to say? So I'd like to continue on, unless Ashish comes on here. With the Nectar of Devotion, what is it? What is this book, Nectar of Devotion, that we would want to study it? Huh?
You muted? Are the people muted now?
Yeah. So, the contents that we will be presenting, I show about 12 lessons we're going to go through. This first lesson is called Entering the Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, getting a background, understanding of why we're studying and who is the author, what is Prabhupada's relationship with the author, what is the author's relationship with Lord Chaitanya and Krishna, and what is the whole picture of this deep understanding of this book, why it's so important. Then the next lesson gets into the book itself when we give the definition of what is pure devotional service. We talk about Bhakti-yoga, but there is a quality that we hope to achieve of pure devotion. And what is that? What are the practices that will bring us to that level, and what are the things to avoid? And then number 3 and 4 will be the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. What are the symptoms by which it is known, and what are the results that are attained by practicing pure devotion? Why would we want to practice pure devotion? How is it enthusing and beneficial to us? That is something we want to know, and is explained in this book. Then what is sadhana bhakti? We talk about our sadhana, but what is sadhana bhakti? It's more than just chanting 16 rounds a day or chanting so many rounds a day. There's much more to sadhana, and the practices and how it is performed, and what will be the results of the sadhana. Are we just going through rituals? No. There's a particular goal to be achieved. Number 6, the independent nature of pure devotional service. How pure devotional service may or may not develop in a particular individual, even though he's practicing, or may not be practicing very thoroughly. How pure devotional service is not academic, that you simply read something and you do some steps and there it is. There's a little more to it there, because pure devotional service is something that is awarded by Krishna and is very rare to achieve. The persons here who are trying in this path of bhakti are rare, but even more rare are those who come to the level of pure devotion. And Krishna takes those persons very intimately, very personally, and takes care of them in all respects at all times, because they are developing a very deep, deep love for Krishna. And Krishna reciprocates, as these are his most dear persons in all of the material creation. Number 7, the discharge of devotional service. How do we practice it? What are the things we do? And what are the things maybe we don't do? Devotional principles. What are those rules or regulations that keep us on the path? And other aspects of transcendental service. So we need to know it from various angles how this service is performed and what are the different features of it that are very attractive but also very important so that we get to the right result. It's like cooking. An expert cook can walk in the kitchen, grab different ingredients and cook something. But one who is a novice, like I remember when I was a kid, I tried to follow my mother. I saw her cooking. So I thought, let me go in her cupboard and I'll take a little bit of every spice, throw it in a pot with some water, and I'll cook it, and then I'll have something very tasty. And it was horrible. as you can imagine, you know, because some spices go together and some produce a different flavor. And to throw everything together is a mess. So we need to know how to properly combine everything. And then Raga Nuga Bhakti. Now this is a very high and elevated level of Krishna consciousness, where one is spontaneously attracted to Krishna after following the principles very carefully, but then there's a spontaneous, yes, I want to. I cannot live without thinking about Krishna, without worshiping Krishna, because my love for him is becoming very prominent. And then 11 is actually presentation. What is prema? Pure love for Krishna, pure love for God. This is even beyond simply pure devotional service, but actual love develops. And the love is exhibited like we see in persons like Nanda and Yashoda and Krishna's cowherd boyfriends and the Radha and Gopis. What is this love that they have that I might develop it? And finally, we'll wrap it up and conclude everything in the final session. So, and as we enter into this understanding of bhakti, what is the word Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu? We have bhakti, meaning devotion, rasa, meaning mellow or relationship. What is our connection with Krishna? How am I relating to him? How am I interacting with him? And amrita, nectar, eternal, and sindhu, ocean. So the Prabhupada has taken this whole bhakti, rasa, amrita, sindhu, and created the title Nectar of Devotion. So Rūpa Gosvāmī is explaining that this is what he's writing about. He's writing about devotion, but with the goal or in the context of developing our relationship with Krishna, and that the result is nectarian and eternally unbroken. And it's very deep ocean that there's no limits to how much it can expand. So this Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu is a Sanskrit word. Prabhupada explains in a lecture in Bombay, January 10, 1973, and said we have cut the translation short and called it Nectar of Devotion. Rūpa Gosvāmī's purpose is to present the ocean of bhakti rasa. Rasa means mellow, the juice, and it is like an ocean. This ocean has limitation that we have in this material world. But this ocean of devotion, of bhakti and rasa, is unlimited. The Prabhupada went on to explain in another lecture that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compared bhakti to a great ocean. And when he was speaking before Rūpa Gosvāmī, he said that it is just like an ocean. So I'll take a drop of it and you taste it. And you'll understand what is this ocean. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described a small portion of Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu philosophy. Bhakti, devotional service, and there is rasa, taste, and the taste is amrita, eternal. So what Prabhupada is explaining here is that Lord Chaitanya gives us this drop. He gave Rūpa Swami one drop of what this real nectar of bhakti is, the rasa, the taste. And we taste it a little bit, a little drop is not enough. We want more and more and more. And there is more and more. And there's so much to be absorbed and to experience. It is unlimited. And it doesn't end. It's eternal. So this word rasa, very important in the practice of Bhakti-yoga. It means every service, this is from Nectar of Devotion in the preface, Prabhupada explained, every service has some attractive feature which drives the servitor progressively on and on. That force which drives the philanthropist, the rich donor or the householder or the nationalist is called rasa, a kind of mellow or relationship whose taste is very sweet. So Prabhupada is saying that every activity that we see people performing and that they become very dedicated to, because there's some taste in it, whether it's money or fame or some particular ideology, whatever it is, there's something that it seems to be very sweet. But in the material world, it's chapala sukha. This relish or taste of the mundane rasa does not long endure. It disintegrates after a while. One may have some relationship as a parent, but it can only last this lifetime. One may have some relationship, some taste, earning money, but he cannot take it with him beyond this life. And because of that temporariness, those who are very thoughtful, even though they're not devotees, they go to a position of alternating between sense enjoyment and renunciation. One day they say, oh yes, this is very good, I'm getting everything very enjoyable. And some days later they say, it really wasn't that great. I forget it, I don't want those things anymore. But this is still all on the material platform. And Amrita, from this word Amrita, this Bhakti Ras is from the preface again. However, the mellow relish in the transcendental loving service of the Lord does not finish with the end of this life. It continues perpetually and is therefore called Amrita, that which does not die but exists eternally. So that taste that one develops as he becomes purer and more close in his relationship with Krishna continues beyond this body and exists eternally. It's not a temporary activity of this life, but it's eternal. And therefore it's worth our effort to practice it and develop it, because it'll stay with us forever. And it is very sweet. So you can't see, but the slide is there showing Prabhupada there talking about nectar of devotion. And he is simply relishing these great opportunities, these great topics. So a little bit further, this word Amrita is any action that we perform for the satisfaction of Krishna in this transcendental bhakti rasa stage of life can be relished perpetually. When one is thus engaged in devotional service, all varieties of rasas or mellows turn into eternity. So like the parental rasa becomes eternal because it's connected with Krishna. The friendship one may have with others will be a friendship with Krishna, and that will be eternal and relished eternally. So again, I'd like to stop here for a minute and open up again to see if there's any questions. So anyone, Duncan, anyone have any question about this book? What is it we're studying? The Bhakti Rasa. Go ahead.
I don't have detailed things, Prabhuji, but I know that if we read more Prabhupada books or Bhagavatam, we'll know all those details. So Krishna, about Krishna and all this pure, how to we will serve a pure devotion and all those things.
Yes. And these are presented so that we can personally experience and develop it. It's not that we're witnessing some other persons, but these are how that we can become on that level.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, Prabhuji.
Because when we read the descriptions of Krishna's activities in Vrindavan, They're all very nice and very sweet. But actually, in the perfection, we also will be there.
Okay, so,
and it's not a cheap thing. It's not a superficial thing. So the Nectar of Devotion gives us a guideline, a roadmap, how to get to that point. What to do, what not to do. And what we will achieve along the way. What will be the results? So, oops, I'm lost here in my skin. Oh, here. Okay. Yeah, here we go. So, there is a song written about the six Goswāmīs of Vrindavan, and it describes exactly what are their nature and activities. So 8 verses described, written by Srinivasacharya. And of course, Rūpa Gosvāmī, the author of Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, was the leader of this 6 Goswāmīs. So there's a particular verse, Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakaruno Pribhuvane Manyo Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Parara Vinda Bhajane Bhajananandena Mataliko Vande Rūpa Sanatano Raghuyugo Shrijiva Gopalako. So there is a translation to this, and it means, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswāmīs, namely Sri Rūpa Gosvāmī, who was the author of our book, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scripture with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Sri Radha and Krishna. So Rūpa Goswami and the other Goswamis, they studied all the different scriptures, and they've given us the essence from a viewpoint of Krishna Bhakti. And they wanted to present to the world and benefit all humans how to practice this. Not just some sect or group, but everyone. And why should we listen to them? Because they're absorbed in serving Krishna. And this is makes them qualified to teach us. So there's another slide here I'll skip over, showing each word in that ISKCON, where are the translation that we just gave. But in particular, what do we understand from that verse? Is that these 6 Goswamis wrote so many books just to establish what is real religion. Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipano Sadharma Samstapako. Why? Why did they write them? Lokanan Itukarino. They were simply doing welfare activities for the people in general. Lokanan. So like, recently we read, there's the most wealthy man in China. He tried to do a great welfare activity of donating face masks and virus tests to different countries in the world so they could combat this virus, which is affecting people throughout the world in the United States. So that's a welfare activity. But this welfare activity that the Rūpa Goswami was giving is to help us be situated on an eternal platform of happiness, not simply to deal with a temporary situation that may last for a few days or a few years or one lifetime, but something that will benefit people forever, eternally. And who are these people? And why did they give this message? Well, Prabhupada explained that formerly, in the times of the Goswāmīs, 500 years ago, society was not so much degraded as we have now. And as soon as you gave evidence from the Vedic literature, the people would accept whatever was taught. It says, oh, this is being stated in the Bhagavad Gita, they would accept. So the Goswāmīs are making research from the Vedic literatures, the Samaveda, the Rig Veda, the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, the Puranas, Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, all the different literatures. And you'll find in the Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu evidences supporting all this practice of devotional service. And then one of the disciples of the 6 Goswāmīs, he wrote a verse here, Rūpa Raghunatha Pade Haibe Akuti Gabe Ama Bhujava Se Yugala Pariti. When I am eager to understand the literature given by the Goswāmīs, then I shall be able to understand the transcendental loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. So he's saying that the 6 Goswāmīs open this door with their literatures to actually understand Radha and Krishna. It is not simply some mundane, amorous, loving exchange between a man and woman, but something extremely deep and extremely valuable to us on a spiritual level, completely free from all material tinges. So he said the 6 Goswāmīs, they reveal this, in particular Rūpa Gosvāmī. So he went on further to say, Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rūpa Kadamayam Dadati Swapatantikam. Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī Prabhupada was established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desires of Lord Chaitanya. When will he give me shelter under his lotus feet? So Rūpa Gosvāmī, his goal is to fulfill whatever Lord Chaitanya wanted. And he's saying, I want to get the shelter and the guidance of him. Because he's so dear to Lord Chaitanya and so dedicated to Lord Chaitanya that his teachings, his guidance is so valuable to me. I want to hear from them. So in our line, we are not just called devotees, but we are called Rupanugas. We're followers of Rūpa Gosvāmī. And so Prabhupada wrote in the Nectar of Instruction, Krishna conscious movement is conducted under the supervision of Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī. How? We are called Rupanuga, and Anuga means following. So following the footsteps of Rūpa Gosvāmī. So as Rūpa Gosvāmī is following his predecessor, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so we have to follow our predecessor and then we'll be successful. So Prabhupada is saying, we are following our guru, our teacher, who is following Prabhupada, and all the way back to Rūpa Gosvāmī, who is following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So by following in this undeviating disciplic succession, we get all the benefits and help that is available to those who are direct disciples of Lord Chaitanya. Who is Rūpa Gosvāmī? Well, there's a material aspect of where he came from, being a very important minister, right-hand minister of the Nawab of the time, but also he renounced all that position and all the wealth that came with it. He gave it all away, and he took up the life of a mendicant, a Goswami. But on the spiritual level, who is he? Well, in the Gaura Ganodesh Deepika, one book describing who are these followers of Lord Chaitanya in the spiritual kingdom. It says that Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī is described to be the gopi named Sri Rūpa Manjari. So this is how he's directly in the spiritual world serving Krishna under the name of Rūpa Manjari. In Goloka Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani is lovingly served by 8 principal gopis, of whom Lalita Saki is her dearest friend. These intimate maid-servants of Srimati Radhika are assisted by 8 main manjaris, or young girls who are servants, with Sri Rūpa Manjari being the leader. So there's this whole connection in the spiritual world. Who are these great devotees and how they're directly serving Radha and Krishna in a very intimate and exclusive way. They please the sweet divine couple by carrying messages, preparing tasty beverages, stringing fragrant flower garlands, etc. In their pure spiritual forms as maid-servants, manjaris, young girls serving the Krishna and Radha, the 6 Goswamis plus Lokanath and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswamis comprise an inner circle of manjaris, maidservants for Radha and Krishna. And then there's a whole list how all the different leading teachers, acharyas in our line, beginning with Rūpa Gosvāmī, and what is their spiritual position in the spiritual world. Oh, they're all manjaris. They're all these intimate servants of Radha and Krishna. Right through Śrīla Bhakti-siddhanta. So, of course, every person has a intimate relationship with Krishna in one of these 5 primary rasas we mentioned. So, where does this knowledge come from? The statement is there. Before this creation of this cosmic manifestation, the Supreme Lord enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma with the detailed knowledge of creation and manifested the Vedic knowledge. So Krishna, he created this whole universe, and then he gave this Vedas to Lord Brahma so that all living beings could be elevated and come eventually back to him in the spiritual world. In exactly the same way, the Lord, being anxious to revive the Vrindavan pastimes of Lord Krishna, he impregnated the heart of Rūpa Gosvāmī with spiritual potency. By this potency, Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī could revive the activities of Krishna in Vrindavan, activities almost lost to memory, and in this way he spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So Rūpa Gosvāmī not only wrote books, but he also found all the Leela stands, all the different holy places where Krishna performed his pastimes that had been lost over the course of 5,000 years since Krishna was present. For example, when Lord Chaitanya went to Vrindavan, he said, where is Krishna's lake, Shyamakund, and where is Radha's lake, Radhakund? And no one knew. And Lord Chaitanya found those very highly elevated locations in some farmer's field that there was just like a puddle there now, and nobody knew what they were. So he asked Rūpa Gosvāmī and the other Goswamis to continue to identify all these holy places, and so that we now, 500 years later, can go there and see all these holy places. If you had gone there 500 years ago, you wouldn't be able to understand anything. It would just look like a farmer's fields. So what happened? In the course of time, the transcendental news of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan was almost lost. So to enunciate explicitly those transcendental pastimes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī and Sanatana Gosvāmī with the nectar of his mercy to carry out this work in Vrindavan. So Lord Chaitanya didn't come just to present the Yuga Dharma of chanting Hare Krishna, but he also wanted us to understand that yes, Krishna was a person. He lived in Vrindavan, and there are holy places in Vrindavan that we can visit. that Krishna performed his pastimes, and of course the knowledge that he is giving us through Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu nectar devotion. How to come to that pure consciousness that we can fully appreciate and participate. So Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī is described as Bhakti-rasācārya, or one who knows the essence of devotional service. His famous book, Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, is the science of devotional service, and by reading this book, one can understand the meaning of devotional service. This is how Prabhupada's connecting in. In 1933, at Śrīla Prabhupada's initiation by his guru, Śrīla Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, his guru instructed him to study this book, Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, the law book on devotional service. Prabhupada later on, years later, in 1959, September 17th, accepted sannyas, and he moved upstairs room in the Radha Damodar temple and concentrated his energy on translating into English and purporting the Srimad Bhagavatam. This place, this location at Radha Damodar temple is the hub of the wheel of the spiritual world. It is the center for us, the center of the spiritual world. This samadhi where Rūpa Gosvāmī is eternally present. And then Prabhupada said, I eternally reside in my rooms at Radha Damodar temple, there next to Rūpa Gosvāmī's samadhi. Of course, he's there in all our temples, but specifically, he has such great feeling and connection that he says he eternally resides there in Radha Damodar. And Śrīla Prabhupada's decision to stay in Radha Damodar Mandir was an indication of his conscious and fervent desire to live, to serve, and to write under the shelter of Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī, and to very practically seek his blessings for his life's mission of translating Srimad Bhagavatam and preaching in the West. So Śrīla Prabhupada was greatly inspired in all that he wrote and all that he did by this connection with Rūpa Gosvāmī at the Radha Damodar Mandir. Then from Prabhupada's servant Harisari wrote the book, A Transcendental Diary, and there's this whole exchange between him and Prabhupada. He said, he asked Prabhupada, so when you went to Vrindavan, you'd given up the idea of coming to the West? In other words, you no longer were going to the Western countries when you decided to live in Vrindavan? Prabhupada said, no. Coming to the West, the idea was there, but I was planning how to go. How to go there, how to preach there, how to take some books, how to bring them, everything alone. So as soon as you had some books, then what were you going to do? The question was asked Prabhupada. He said, yes, Prabhupada said. Then I decided, when I had books, everything was being dictated by superior. With Śrīla Prabhupada in such a congenial, friendly mood, Harisari took the courage to broach some question that Harikesh once mentioned to him. He asked Prabhupada, he said, I was told that one day you were told by Rūpa Gosvāmī you must go there. Prabhupada's mood changed slightly. He said, but that was open secret, he said dismissively. Everyone knew. And then he changed the subject. So Prabhupada is saying, yes, Rūpa Gosvāmī did appear to him and instructed him to come to the West. He personally appeared before Śrīla Prabhupada and instructed him. And here's what he said, Maharaj, Rūpa Gosvāmī says, Maharaj, don't worry about anything. Go ahead and travel to the West and preach. Just preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the chanting of Hare Krishna. You'll be successful. I guarantee, because I will be right with you all the time. So this was what Rūpa Gosvāmī said to Śrīla Prabhupada. That go to the West, preach Lord Chaitanya's message and chant and the chanting of Hare Krishna, and I will make you successful because I'll be with you. So this is the significance of our whole connection. Prabhupada had this very deep connection with Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī, and this book, Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu, is this nectar of devotion. And they're giving us this information on practices. So, what I ask is that those who are listening here and participating, I perform this, go into this Google Classroom, which I sent you the link, the invitation, and do these simple steps. Identify the reasons for Prabhupada's writing the Nectar of Devotion and how these reasons are relevant to you personally and to the society at large. So in other words, why did Prabhupada write this and how it's so important to me and to the rest of the world? What did you understand from what we've discussed today? So I'm going to stop here and encourage you to ask you if you have any comments or any questions, anything further you want me to explain. Bunkin, you're there? Ashish, are you also there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. This is Mother Ranjana.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
So did you have any questions or anything you wanted to know more about?
No, Prabhuji, thank you.
Very important book for us, this Nectar of Devotion.
Yes.
It tells us all about what we're supposed to be doing to become dear devotees of Lord Krishna. And we'll be studying this each week. So, Bunkin, did you have any questions?
No, Prabhuji.
No.
You can understand there's a very deep connection here from Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, to Rūpa Gosvāmī, to Śrīla Prabhupada.